Love that commercial. It was done in 1997 by the Apple organization, and it really defines out-of-the-box thinking when you think about it. Out-of-the-box thinkers change the human race. They're vilified, they're laughed at, but they do change the world. And that's why when I was invited to speak here today, I said, that's so awesome that people are talking about it's okay to think out of the box. So thank you very much for being here. And where are the band guys? Are they still here? Well, I got to tell you, you talk about out of the box thinking. Did you hear the music that guy who was beating the hell out of his laptop was making? That was incredible. Out of the box thinking. Absolutely. So I'm a business guy, and out of the box thinking is something that's very important to me. But I thought, that video really started to was a nice direction to start my speech today. So Apple are out of the box thinkers. Apple pushed the human race forward. How many people here have one of those? How many of you had one of those 10 years ago? Incredible. Out-of-the-box thinking. Push the human race forward from a business perspective. And here's the interesting thing, is that this was not pushed forward by the technology. This was pushed forward by a guy who was emphatic about design. Out-of-the-box thinking. Anybody recognize this? Who in the hell would pay $4.95 for a cup of coffee? Out-of-the-box thinking, that's right. I like you because you're out-of-the-box thinking. Howard Schwartz really redefined the entire coffee industry by challenging people to think out of the box and how they consume a gourmet product. When I was a kid, it was something called Sanka. And what you did with Sanka, you put it in a little spoon, you put it in your cup, and you put hot water on it. And it was delicious. He has pushed the human race forward through his organization, through his brains, through his vision of what coffee should do. And I would say that he, in his vision, has done that. Anybody recognize this one? Disney. I would say that Disney has pushed the human race forward with his out-of-the-box thinking in animation. Why we have today with animation? I would profess because of this guy. Out-of-the-box thinking, and he was vilified, he was laughed at, all of those things. Never going to work. Changes the world. Why do people spend thousands of dollars to go thousands of miles to go visit a place to see a mouse? It's incredible what this individual, Mr. Walt Disney, has done. Anybody recognize this logo? This is a newer organization, which is actually about 12 to 15 years old. New. One of the rebels. One of the change agents, because they thought out of the box when it came to recognizing a very, very big problem in the world right now when it comes to business, particularly startup businesses. Anybody recognize this logo? Anybody recognize an organization called IndieGoGo? That's their logo. The banking industry is quaking in their feet right now because these guys are changing the way that startup businesses get funding. They said it's not fair that banks control it all. People should control what needs to be funded and so on. They're out-of-the-box thinkers. They are changing the way that business is going to be done in the future. And for a small business guy like me who does business all the time in many different ways, I've been an entrepreneur for about 19 years now. Absolutely love my journey. The banks drive me crazy. They are not your friend. They are not your small business people. These people are changing the way people think or do business because they think out of the box. It's so wonderful to see that. And so here's my business called Relish Gourmet Burgers. And Relish Gourmet Burgers wanted to really have the same approach to being an out-of-the-box thinker. For goodness sakes, burgers. When my business partners first approached me with regards to Relish Gourmet Burgers, they say, "Are you an idiot? It's burgers, McDonald's, Burger King, and so on." He says, "No, this is gourmet burgers, and we're going to do it differently. We're going to change the world." And I said, "Okay, I get that," because I had subscribed to the video. I had subscribed to the Disneys of the world. I had subscribed to the Steve Jobs of the world. I had subscribed to the Howard Schwartzes of the world, and now the IndieGoGos of the world, because they changed the world. And so we thought, what is the best way to do that? Well, what we ultimately came up with is the word zag. And if there's one thing that you can come from out of this particular presentation is the word zag. That's another way of saying out-of-the-box thinkers. And we came up with a philosophy is we zag when everybody else zigs. See, in high school, it was all about being a part of the in crowd. In business, it's all about being the out crowd. You've got to be different. You've got to be an out-of-the-box thinker. It doesn't matter how great a product you have. If you are not perceived as being different, you're like everybody else. You're the follower. And you're competing with them for a little voice. Apple doesn't compete for a voice. Disney doesn't compete for a voice. For goodness sakes, look at all the little fairs and so on that go around town. You could go to those, but you go to Disney. Howard Schwartz doesn't compete for a voice because what he did was different. They zag when everybody else zigs. And so Relish Gourmet Burgers, a gourmet burger operation, decided it wanted to zag and stand out and be different. And in 3 years' time, we have put together an organization that is now 6 operations throughout Atlantic Canada, and we're about to be bought out by a Dubai organization in 3 years, primarily because we bought into this whole philosophy of thinking out of the box. So let me just share with you some of the things we do with Relish Gourmet Burgers that makes us think out of the box, okay? The first thing is that we've adopted this as a culture. This isn't just a word to us, it's a whole being. It's in our blood. It's in everything that we do. It's in the way we think, the way we act, the way we do all those things. It's so much that when I was coming here last night, I had this great idea. I was going to come up and do this presentation like this. The entire presentation with my back to you. How many people have ever been to a presentation where somebody has turned their back on you the entire way? Never has that happen, has it? But I bet you'd remember me if I did it. And then she says, "Don't be an asshole, Rivers, because after a while they'll just walk out on you and you won't even know it." So I decided not to do that. But the point is that everything that I do now is all about thinking, zagging, because I want to be different. And we've adopted it as a culture, and it's very, very important in the way that we've had success very quickly with regards to Relish Gourmet Burgers. The first thing we do is in our products. This is a burger. Now, what do you notice that's different with this burger? It's got a waffle on it. Absolutely. We put this burger together for Father's Day. And the reason we put it together for Father's Day is because that's what fathers get for breakfast in the morning is waffles and eggs from their kids. So we thought we'd add that little touch to it. This is something else that we do. All of our burgers have names associated with them, and they all have stories behind them. Everybody else is a cheeseburger and fries. Everybody else is a burger with ketchup and pickles. No, we wanted to have burgers and names associated with them. Very, very small thing. And this is something I want to impart upon you, is it doesn't have to be a big, whoa, I thought out of the box. It can be a small thing. It's just a small little pivot that can be a huge game changer in things that you do. And in business, the smart business people understand that. A small pivot can be a big change agent that can push the business forward and impact lives like you wouldn't believe. This is something else that we do. You take a look at the ingredients here. You want to talk about a guy that zags. I hate to cook. I absolutely despise cooking. I've never cooked a burger at all in my entire life, let alone in the last years we've been doing business. But I've got a great business partner. And he puts all these ingredients together that people would never think about putting together in a menu. Again, small little zag, big impact. So you don't have to think that things are really big in order to be thinking out of the box. You use the small things. We connect to the community. We do this in a way that is so, so cool. We have a burger that is designed and named after something important in the community. This is the mayor of Fredericton. His name's Brad Woodside. And he actually came up with the idea to do this. But we have a burger in Fredericton called the Brad Burger. Well, this is all that the people from Fredericton know about, is the Mayor Brad. You go to Oromocto, where we had a location. Well, that's one of the biggest armed forces base in the Commonwealth. Well, we had a burger called the Base Commander. And then you go to Halifax. Well, of course, it's called the Halifax Explosion. I mean, these are things that are small little adjustments, but ultimately tie into the fact of thinking out of the box. How can we be different? Because when you're different, when you're thinking out of the box in business, people are talking about you. How many people here have ever in high school saw people who were dressed up in goth? Okay. Now, I know you don't have to answer the question out loud, but I'll bet you that you talked about those goth people all the time. All the time. You may not like them, which is okay, but they got talked about all the time. And when they walked down the hall, people parted ways. And they were talking about them behind their backs and all that kind of stuff. See, that's the game in business. It's all about getting talked about. And when you get talked about, you win the game of brand domination. Out of the box thinking. So that's what we do. We tie in little nuances like that into our business. This is part of my great team, and we do some very cool things with regards to out of the box thinking when it comes to customer service. Here's one of the things we do. Now think about this, the last time you were at a restaurant. When you come into one of our restaurants, we yell the word welcome to you. Now, when's the last time you're in a restaurant and someone yelled, welcome? See, you stand back. What's going on? But see, you do this in your home. You don't have people come to your home and they walk in the front door and you ignore them and you walk over to talk to somebody else. You welcome them. And then what happens is that when you're putting your order, we say, what do you relish today? And what's your name? It's not, my number's 235. What's your name? And when it's time for your name, we yell out, we relish Ron. And the whole team goes, Ron! That just doesn't happen, but it's so simple to do. It's out of the box thinking. Some people hate it, but I don't care because this is our zag. This is our out of the box thinking that moves our business forward to be at the position we're at right now. People talking about us. And we're so committed to that zagging philosophy. We've had a guy come up and he says, I'm not going to give you my name. Okay, you're not going to give me your name. So, for his burgers ready, we yell it out. We relish the guy that won't give his name. And everybody, the staff goes, the guy that won't give his name. And he's got to stand up and come and get his burger. And all his friends are laughing and saying, you're a jerk, look at that. So those are some of the things that we do. Because they're out of the box thinking when it comes to delivering business services. It's cool and people talk about it. And for those people that don't like it, I don't care because they're talking about it. And I see that on Facebook and Twitter and that all the time. Oh, I don't like that place. They yell your name out. Oh, that's the last thing. Oh, sorry, we said your name. But it's good because they're talking about it. Because for every one that doesn't like it, there's 492 that love it. And they come back and they talk on Facebook. This is something else that we do. Actually, maybe I got it on a slide here. Yeah, okay, this is something else. This is my daughter, Haley. And it's interesting, we were talking about twins a little earlier. This is my 15-year-old daughter, and that's me with my favorite shirt on of all times, with my man crush on Tom Brady. But Haley and I went out for breakfast together at Coors. And this is a out-of-the-box thought process again. This is a very special time for a father and his daughter. This is just us. I have another daughter and another son. Haley's brother's the twin. And it's a very intimate time. I know that feeling. And so one day when I was in the restaurant, I saw a man and his daughter at the Relish location. And I could kind of walk by. See, this is the culture. This is, you're always thinking, how can I do it differently? How can I do it differently? How can I do it differently? So people are talking about me. People are talking about me. And I went over to him and I said to him, so you're on a father-daughter date, are you? He says, yes, we are. And I said, oh, that's fantastic. I've got a daughter, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I said, what's your name? Her name was Alice. And I said, Alice, so whose idea was it to come to Relish today? Now, you see the engagement? She says, it was my idea. Oh, man, this is magical. So I said to her father in front of her, would you mind if I gave Alice a t-shirt to say thank you for bringing you to Relish today? Stuff like that doesn't happen in customer service relationships. It just doesn't happen. It's more the exception than the rule. It's a small little thing. But do you think that they left that restaurant and said that was the worst experience they've ever had? I'm never going back there again. That asshole gave her a t-shirt, he didn't give me a t-shirt. You think that's what happened? No. But the culture of out-of-the-box thinking, of zagging, permeated through to them, and I bet you they came back a gazillion times. Came back to our business and told their friends. This is another thing that I love doing this. I guarantee you no one has experienced this one before. Out-of-the-box thinking. I love when I drive into, I'm based out of Fredericton, and I love when I drive into my restaurant in Fredericton, and there's a big parking lot there, and I see people coming out the door, and they got their bag, their Relish bag. And they're smiling, they're walking down the street, and it's a really cool looking bag, and they're walking down the street, and I let them get down the street a bit. And I get out of my car, and I see them, and I start running after them. Now, when was the last time this ever happened to you for any restaurant or whatever? I'm running after them, and they see me coming. And I know this would never work in Toronto, but in Fredericton and all those other places, it works. And I say, excuse me, ma'am, and I yell it right out because I want an audience. So I go out there and I say, did you just buy something from Relish Gourmet Burgers? Well, she says, yes, I did. And you see the look on their faces like, what is going on here? I said, why do you go there? And she tells me why. And then I said, did they treat you well? She says, oh, yeah, they treated me really, really well. And they're still looking at me, what's this deal? And I said, well, I'm one of the owners of Relish, and I just wanted to run after you to say thank you for your business today. And what do you think they do? They smile. And do you think they go back to their office and tell their people about that story? You're darn right they do. They tell it again and again and again, how this guy ran after that. Small, out-of-the-box thinking for a small startup business, big impact, huge impact. These little things make it very powerful for us. And I love doing that one. I love to see the look on their faces. And I love actually when they're in their car and they just gotten into their car and I'm knocking on the window like this. And of course the window goes down this far. But my point is, ladies and gentlemen, is that that's out-of-the-box thinking all the time because it's part of our culture and it will make you successful in business. I come from a business background, and so unfortunately I can't reference to out-of-the-box thinking with the other disciplines we're talking about today, but business I can. And a lot of big businesses in particular lose out on this opportunity, and this is why the small guy can start winning. This is our president. Her name's Laura. Her title is El Presidente. Different again. It's not president. Here's one of our business cards. On our business cards, my card says co-founder on it in small letters. It's not big letters. And there's a reason for that. Her office, Laura's office, it's not Laura's office, it's called the ovary office. Thanks, somebody finally got that. When we do interviews with people, the interview questions are, so do you believe in Bigfoot? Because we want people into our culture who are out-of-the-box thinkers. And if it's always, so where'd you go to school? You know, what's your favorite subject? Everybody does that. When's the last time you ever going to ask a question in an interview, do you believe in Bigfoot? Doesn't happen. But it teaches us whether or not people are out-of-the-box thinkers. Laura's a rock star. The sign behind that, by the way, it says quiet blonde thinking. So that's the picture. It's a pretty cool one. Now this is something in business that you people, young people, would say, that's so bloody obvious, why don't people do it? But this is an out-of-the-box process that we've adopted at Relish that anybody can do, but only 8% of businesses actually do. Use Twitter and Facebook. It has literally changed our business because we use that format. So again, there's lots of opportunities to do things out there that not a lot of people are doing. So out-of-the-box thinking doesn't have to be about inventions. It doesn't have to be about new. It just has to be about doing versus simply, oh, I got to invent social media. Out-of-the-box thinking could be taking advantage of stuff that is already out there that nobody else is taking advantage of and just doing it in a different way. We have our little restaurant in Fredericton has the most Facebook followers of any business in Fredericton. Been around for 3 years. Any business. Go figure. Because we think about it a different way. We're always culturally engaged in that process. But here's the real interesting thing, and I'm going to go pretty quick here just to end it off, is that's all about business. And it has taken me on an incredible ride because I think out of the box all of the time. I'm all about zagging. It has become part of my culture, becomes a part of who I am. And that's, by the way, is what I think universities should do a lot more of, is teaching that stuff. Because I wasn't taught that stuff at Mount A. I'm a proud Mount A alumni, but that's one of the things I wish they had taught me more about, is how to think out of the box a little bit more. But here's my promise to you. If you adopt this out-of-the-box focus, this strategy, this culture, this process, you will experience things in life that will be so magnificent for you because you are naturally drawn towards those out-of-the-box activities. This is a Disney Marathon medal. I ran the Disney Marathon, I don't know, say 3 or 4 years ago. That's one of the things I've done in my life. This is my son at the top of the Mount Katahdin. He and I just walked up the top of Mount Katahdin. Zagging things that we do. You know what? You get to hang around with guys and girls that zag. This is Kevin O'Leary. Most of you know him from the Dragon's Den. He's actually a really nice guy. I got this picture and got to talk to this guy for a long time because I zagged. Pure and simple, that was the main reason I got to do it. Gene Simmons of Kiss fame. Incredible individual. This is the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup in my house. Yes, the real Stanley Cup was in my house about 8 years ago. I got this because I'm a believer that what you give out, you get back. I give out zag, I get zag back. This was being driven by my house, by my friend of mine. He says, why don't you just stop in and we'll just show my friend Rivers this for about 10, 15 minutes. He's the international sales director for the Royal Canadian Mint, who had the Stanley Cup in Fredericton for a while. How many people here have ever had the Stanley Cup in their house? It's just incredible. Did you raise your hand? You went like that. Interesting story about the Stanley Cup is that, do you know I wasn't allowed to put it over my head? Guess why I wasn't allowed to put it over my head? Just a little point of trivia. Anybody take a guess? Sorry? I didn't win it. Who said that? That's exactly it. It's only the winners get to do that. Everybody else says it because they feel it's going to fall, whatever, but I didn't win it. A little bit of trivia for you. And that guy you see on the commercials with the hair, he was the guy that brought it into the house. So now I got a question for you. After all of this zagging talk, out-of-the-box thinking talk, and so on, in your life, at the end of your life, when you're on your deathbed, do you want to say that you were part of the zig crowd? Or do you want to say that you zagged in your life and you were on the top of the mountain and it was your world and you triumphed and did all kinds of wonderful things, that you pushed the human race forward by thinking differently, that you created awesome things in your life for you and your family because of out-of-the-box thinking? Not that conventional thinking is wrong, as we talked about. But I'm telling you, I think you'll live a better life, a stronger life, a more exciting life if you embrace zag thinking into your life versus purely conventional thinking. I don't know if you realize, but there's only 100 tickets sold to this event. So you're definitely out-of-the-box thinkers, because the fact you're here today on a Saturday when you could be doing a lot of other things. So congratulations to you. Thank you.